Hey, Matt. Matt, Matt,
I'm
Matt. Oh, did you hear the news? Oh my God. You're upset.
depressed.
I know.
I never
That
got the call.
I know, I know, but you know who did get the call?
Was it you?
Almost. You're close. It's Leo, Pope Leo from Chicago. We have a Pope from Chicago.
If I knew that's what it took to be Pope, that all I had to do is move to Chicago,
I
I would have
told you to
I would have
move.
done it.
But I told you to move to Chicago, and you're like, no, I don't have any friends there. And I'm like,
Well,
overrated.
well, again, I didn't know I'd be able to become Pope if I did it.
Yeah, they were looking for somebody knowledgeable about dibs chairs and malort and
So th-
Italian beef
so this guy, he's young-ish,
for the
right?
Pope.
Young for the Pope. So he's going to be around for a while. So I have time to build up my campaign.
You got to move to Chicago.
They already did a Chicago Pope. So next they're going to want a Philadelphia Pope.
I don't think so.
Yeah, pretty sure. So I think I got to start my campaign now, right?
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm. Mhm.
starting today.
Mhm.
I'm at Camp. I'm running
Mhm.
for next Pope.
I don't think that's how that works.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys want to make T-shirts, Matt for Pope. If you guys
Ugh.
want to put up signs, Matt for Pope. If you guys want to whatever, if somebody, I don't have the money to make even a website, but if
Listen,
somebody
I'll
wants
do
to
a
make a
campaign
website,
for you.
Matt for Pope. Okay.
I'm going to do something for you because you said something really nice to me the other day, and this is going to get people on your side,
What did I say
right?
that was really nice to you?
So, Matt told me that if I was just a blob of slop, he would still be my friend. He said that.
And then, yeah. And then we both spent a while talking about what it would be like to be friends with a bag of slop. That
And we
just like
actually
slops
decided
all
it'd
over
be
the
pretty
ground.
cool.
Yeah.
So that's your whole campaign. We need a pope who wants to be friends with degenerate trash like myself.
Trash Pope is our next Pope.
Trash pope. I like it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Save Your Game. I am one of your hosts, Pushing Up Roses. Not a pile of slop, but not against it. Seems pretty cool. With me, as always, my co-host, Matt Aucamp. Hi, Matt.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm
Still
good.
bummed.
Yeah, I'm bummed. The other thing, uh, it played into the bit, but the truth is my throat hurts. So I'm gonna be my voice might be a little gentler this episode.
Weird.
Yeah, because I'm trying to take it easy. Trying not to shout. This isn't. So I'm not actually. Even if I sound really depressed right now, I'm not actually depressed. I'm just trying to talk a little gentler.
That's fair. I'm actually coming off a cold myself because we were supposed to record the other day, and I'm like, no way. Like my
Mhm.
throat is out of control.
And then
So I'm
somehow
feeling better.
across what 700 miles,
Oops.
you gave me your cold.
My
Um,
bad. Like when I speak, I project, and that those particles somehow got to your house. I don't know how, but they did.
I have to start with an apology today.
Okay.
Last episode, I said that the person who voiced Indiana Jones and did an amazing job of it was Nolan North. It's Troy
Okay.
Baker. The
Oops.
other guy, the other video game voice actor who everybody
Whoops.
knows the name of. There's
Welp.
two of them. I had a 50-50 shot. I got it wrong.
Hey,
Thanks
it
to
happens.
Colin
I
Oscar P for letting me know that on Blue Sky.
thank you for that. we sometimes get it wrong because we don't like to research. No, I'm kidding. We do often, but when we're
Troy,
talking off the top of our head, sometimes, yeah.
yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, Troy Baker is doing a fantastic job as Indiana
Good.
Jones, and fuck Nolan North.
Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. They're both very
I
talented. I don't know them as humans, but they're both very talented voice actors.
Okay, great. I mean, I called, Medley Melody, although I think
Mm.
that's pretty understandable.
Do
But
you?
nobody called me out for it, so there you go.
Speaking of that,
Of
do you want to hear what I've been playing
Yes, I
this
do.
past week?
Yes.
So I recently did I don't know if I talked about this on the show, but I recently acquired a Retroid Pocket. Do you know what one of these
Oh.
is?
I only know what it is because you told me what it is.
Okay. Did I tell you on the show or off the show?
You told me on the show.
Okay, yeah. So I got my Retroid Pocket. I would highly suggest if anybody is
Wow.
interested in them, buy them now before the tariffs go crazy because
Ugh.
it is from China. But I got my Retroid Pocket and I've put a bunch of emulators on it. Obviously, that's
Ooh.
what it's for. And I one of those emulators is a Nintendo GameCube emulator.
Are you playing Wind Waker?
Oh no, you're excited about the wrong one.
I am?
I'm playing Twilight Princess.
Oh. Oh, man, I did get excited about the wrong one. That's awesome, though. No, I think you'll like Twilight Princess.
Yeah, I'm really digging it so far. I'm not in love with the wolf thing. I feel like I've been a wolf for too long. I'm
Mm, mhm.
I'm still at the it's a long intro.
Yeah.
But so I've met Midna.
Okay.
I met I went into Twilight, I met Zelda. I went back to my town, fought some guys, and I'm collecting light orbs.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds like a Zelda
or
game.
or I accidentally closed the emulator.
No.
And so all of
No.
that progress, I'm all the way back at meeting Princess Zelda.
Oh, no. I didn't know that happened with that. That sucks.
Yeah, it's never happened to me before. Now I'm bummed out.
Shit.
But hey, I'm enjoying it. I think it's going to be a really cool game. I hope I turn back into um boy Zelda soon.
Boy Zelda, as opposed to Wolf. You got me to say it. I hate you so much. I
so
can't believe this.
so in addition to that, you'll also be excited about this, I think.
Okay.
So I've decided this is like my RPG machine.
Okay.
I'm using this thing to play a lot of RPGs that I missed over time.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be playing. I'm playing the Final Fantasies elsewhere. I would have loved to play them on this thing, but maybe when I replay them. But
Mhm.
I'll probably play the Dragon's Quests on this. And
Oh,
but right now,
old school.
I am quite a. I know this is a long game, so when I say quite a ways, I mean a couple hours, and probably still have 9/10 of the game to go. But I'm playing Chrono Trigger.
Oh, yay! I love that game. Oh,
hmm
it's one of my favorites.
I like it. It seems like for a game released back on the SNES, it seems to have a lot of quality of life RPG stuff that
Mhm.
it seems like they played the Final Fantasies and the Dragon's Quests and they were like, some of this stuff sucks. And like found ways to make it all a little easier to play,
Yeah.
not easier as in difficulty, but in frustration of like tedium.
Yeah.
And also it just moves, man. It just goes. Like
Yeah.
every moment is building on the story, and RPGs of this era, like JRPGs, you kind of have to extract the good story out of a lot of annoying, boring stuff.
Yeah.
But with Chrono Trigger, I'm loving every moment of it. Like the characters are interesting, the dialogue
Mhm.
is legitimately pretty good, and the game just kind of moves, and it's very inventive.
Yeah.
I am coming towards the end of my first trip into the future.
Okay.
So I
How
went to
many
the
hours? So
past.
this is actually a shorter game compared to
Oh.
other RPGs, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
So like compared to, I mean, they're all Square, Square Soft games, but compared to like Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, I've
Mhm.
put in so many hours into those games. I
Yeah.
think I think Chrono Trigger is a shorter game
Oh, okay.
than you'll
What?
than you'll expect.
Maybe like 30 hours instead of 90 hours.
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
I'm yeah, I really like it. I liked the Frog Knight in the
Oh,
past.
Frog.
I liked I kind of like the Robot Knight in the future, or the Robot Man.
Yeah, Robo.
I don't know. I name them all absurd things.
You renamed them?
I rename everybody.
That
Everybody's like
this upsets me so much.
everybody's like nuts and butt and anus.
D's nuts.
That's like
Fucking
I,
damn it.
it's just I revert to a little child when I play a game where they let you name the characters.
Oh.
So even in
Oh.
Zelda, my Zelda character's name is Anus Boy.
No, why? Why do you do this?
It's just it's so juvenile, but it never stops being funny when somebody says, "Hey, Anus Boy, over here."
I just can't do it. I can't. I've never done it. I've never renamed my RPG characters because it feels like I'm doing something wrong.
I'll say this, sometimes in games with like Final Fantasy VI, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of people who will reference that game culturally, and I don't really know what they're talking about because they're saying the names of the actual characters
Yeah.
rather than uh, Ballsack and
An anus
and
boy.
Mudfat and like
Ugh,
whatever, like whatever
believe it.
bullshit. I just like whatever absurd yucky word that pops into my head just goes in.
Okay, well the robot's name is Robo,
Okay. Well, his
and the
name is
frog's knight's name is Frog. So
the robot's name is, I think, just nuts. I think I wasn't thinking. I think I was sick when I was playing that, so they didn't get really. These ones didn't get. These names were even less clever than usual.
less clever than anus boy. Wow.
I think Anus Boy's pretty funny, but like
Ugh.
nuts is just first thought. First thought, worst thought, but I still did it.
You could just save time and just press enter and keep their name.
Who? Why? I'm so short on time. I don't have the time to type out a little 5-character name. I'm too busy for this.
Well, excuse me.
I'm too busy to write nuts on my.
Well, anyway, I'm really glad you're playing it. It really is one of my favorite games of all time, as is a lot of people, I think, because of all the reasons you're saying. It's very well paced.
Yes.
Um, it's less infuriating. It's not turn based, so it's less because it's combat based.
Right.
So
But
it's
you
less
can.
infuriating.
It's real time combat. Is
Yeah,
that what you mean? Yeah.
yeah.
It's. You can make it turn based. You can make the other characters. You can make it so the enemies have to wait for you to make your move.
Hmm.
Um, so that it becomes a turn-based game, but I left it on real time
Yeah,
because I think
I
it's more
leave it.
interesting. And
Yeah.
I am really bad at timing the critical hits because
Okay.
it is a game where when you press attack, if you hit A again at the exact right moment,
Yeah.
they do a critical hit. So you can do
Mhm.
like technically you can do a critical hit every hit.
Yeah.
Um,
I got pretty good with that in FF8, like with the main character Squall has a gun blade, which we're not
oh
going to
yeah.
talk about the logistics of that. But yeah, if you press a button when he's striking, you get
Mm.
that extra boost, and I got pretty okay at it. I got
Uh,
good at my gun blade.
the third game I was playing a little bit on my Retroid Pocket was X-Men Legends,
Hmm.
but it's kind of boring. Like I'm playing it because it's X-Men, but it's kind of
Sure.
boring. It's it falls behind any other game that I've been playing.
Sure. But I feel like when you love a franchise, you're gonna play everything on. I mean, the Murder She Wrote hidden object games aren't like fantastic, but am I gonna play them? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, guess
I mean,
what?
I'm not going to play like those X-Men fighting games or whatever, but
There's X-Men fighting games?
yeah.
Oh.
So let's not talk about them. What's up? What
I-
have you been doing?
Well, speaking of X-Men's, sorta.
Uh-oh.
Because there's a lot of X-Men's action figures. I bought myself an action figure. Can you guess which? It's not an X-Men. Can you guess in 3 guesses which action figure Pushing Up Roses has bought?
The Crow.
Nope, I already own it. You didn't see that at my house?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff at your house. I probably saw it and forgot it. Okay.
But that's a very good guess, but I do already own it.
What would Pushing Up Roses purchase? There's not a Grim Fandango action figure, I don't think.
There is not, unfortunately.
There are Sam and Max action figures.
Nope, not those.
So that's guess number 2. Okay. Guess number 3.
And just so you know, they're more in line with what we saw at Quake Collectibles. You know, they're not little short statues. They're like, it's meant to be an action figure.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, Quake Collectibles, we talked about it on a previous episode, it's a collectible store in Chicago that it's just packed with
wall to wall.
piles and piles. And literally, I mean, in some places, piles of action figures. And
the piles are making up the pathways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And some statuettes and and some boxes of comics. It was a really cool place. Okay. So in line with that, what would Pushing Up Roses buy? She already owns the Crow. It's not Sam and Max. So I am going to guess Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
I really thought you were going to get it.
No, not at all.
But you did not, even though as a goth, it is mandatory for me to like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. Yeah. No, a couple years ago, or maybe like a year ago, I pre-ordered a Jessica Fletcher like Murder She Wrote action figure.
Oh my god, I didn't even know.
And it's on its way.
Oh my god. I didn't even know that was...
It's a thing.
A thing that existed. Okay. Well, are you going to play with it?
Yes.
Are you going to sit on the floor and like have her solve mysteries around your house?
Dude, I can do like stop motion, like little stop motion skits for my videos of JB Fletcher like reenacting something.
I love it.
I know.
I can't wait to see those.
I'm so excited. Okay. Anyway, that had nothing to do with X-Men. I'm sorry. What are we talking about today, Matt?
So today we are talking about a video game that we have mentioned before, and is a point-and-click game by Wadjet Eye that came out just this year from former guest of the show, Dave Gilbert. It's Old Skies.
Oh man, I just love Wadjet Eye. They really know how to make an adventure game, and yeah, we are going to be dedicating this episode to that game.
So why don't we throw on Shrinky Duckarino?
Cute.
And we'll be back to talk Old Skies.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Save Your Game. I'm your host, Pushing Up Roses, but not just me. I have another host, Matt Aucamp. Matt, how was your break?
Good. I'm worried.
Okay.
What if we get all sorts of emails that are like, hey, I prefer Matt's mellow voice? I can't
deal with that, huh?
I can't be that. I can't I can't be this way all the time.
Oh no, he really can't.
No, I've got to go back to my excited, half shouting all the time voice in the very next day. I mean, I'll go
I
back to it
know.
in a day when my voice in my throat feels better.
I
There's
think we all appreciate excitable, sweet summer child Mad Dog
okay.
Camp, and I will say this because we've met in person, we know each other in person. You are even more excitable
Mm.
in person. I don't even know how it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. Well,
Yeah. I think I'm more mellow in person. I think I'm more performative online and more mellow face to face. I don't know how you feel. I'm a bit much.
I I didn't notice I didn't notice a huge difference, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this is guys, if you hate this voice, don't worry, it'll be gone next episode. If you like this voice, don't get used to it.
Oh no. I do like the mellow voice. It's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like I'm in some kind of cozy like I feel like somebody's greeting me into a cozy house like, "Hi. Thank you so
Hey.
much for being here with us."
Right.
I
Uh,
like it.
I
Maybe
feel like it would I feel like if I was this way all the time, though, we'd put people to sleep. Did you just fall asleep?
yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Sorry, I was having a stroke
You
for
nodded
a
off.
second. Yeah, I just nodded off for a second. Sorry, were you saying something?
So, roses,
Yes.
how did you feel? High level thoughts
Mhm.
about Old Skies by Wadjet Eye Games.
Right. So, I just giving an overall statement.
Sure.
I really like it. It's so good.
Mhm.
It's so
Yeah.
good. It's very well written. The voice acting is fantastic, especially the lead characters, and especially the character that you play for the majority of the game, which is great because you're spending the most time with that character.
Mhm.
It has really interesting premises, and I will say that this is about time travel, and I struggle with the concept of time travel. I always have, even though I'm a big, I like comic book fantasy. I like adventure game, like high fantasy. I like low
Mm,
fantasy.
mhm.
Um, but for and like extreme murder mystery. But sometimes I can't suspend my disbelief enough when it comes to time travel, and I felt myself nitpicking a lot. And that's not really I would say that's not really the game's fault or the writing's fault. I think they did the best they could in terms of trying to explain how time travel might work in this world. I just still nitpicked it. I just still did, you know?
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear some of that stuff because I think they did really, really well. Like, I think the idea of people who are so one of the concepts in this game is the idea that they have the technology to chrono lock certain people and certain things.
Mhm.
So as you know, there's this uh, idea, like the multiverse idea, right?
Yeah.
Where every decision we make spawns two universes, one where we made that decision and one where we didn't, and then that spawns universes that lead to that, like at the next decision. So
Yeah.
there is an infinitely branching number of universes. What this game supposes is that there is that might be true or it may not, but you are on one path. And if something changes, your entire timeline changes.
Right.
So if you go back in time and kill your grandfather, you were never born.
Right.
But they have these characters that are chrono locked that work for a company called Chrono Zen, which we'll get into. And I'm not going to describe the whole thing here. I just
Yeah.
want to talk about premise. Um, and all employees of Chrono Zen are chrono locked, meaning as everything around them changes, they stay the same. So it's even true that the paths that led them to become employees of Chronozen have changed, and now there are two versions of themselves in that world.
But
One
those
who's
versions,
yeah,
this is where I get confused.
uh-huh.
So there's only two versions of themselves, one that's chronolocked and one that is in another universe.
Which who may exist or may not. Like there was a point in time where Fia, her double, I guess, I think that's what she calls it in this timeline, doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Something, some event caused by time travel, uh, played out, like a butterfly flapping its wings, causing a storm in a different continent,
Yeah.
and made it so that Fia never existed.
I
But
guess
her
I find that like
chrono-locked Fia is obviously still there. So
yeah. I
there's a
understand the
yeah.
chronolocked character. What I don't understand in terms of time travel anything is why is her double changing constantly and who is changing it? Is it because of her time travel or is it because of other time travelers that are constantly causing ripples in the universe?
Yeah, I think it is, butterfly flapping its wings sort of thing. So it could be anything, right? Chrono Zen. I think now it's time we get into the premise here,
Sure.
so that I can do my tell you what my interpretation of the answer to that question
Sure.
is. Uh, in this world, time travel was invented and it was used chaotically, like any other technology. You can draw parallels with. Um, I think the most recent parallel is AI,
Mhm.
and more slightly older parallel is like the internet, right? People invent a new technology, everybody goes absolutely nuts with it, and then it needs to be regulated. So in this instance, that happened with time travel. People went back, they fucked a lot of stuff up, and then a sort of like a they don't I don't know if they name it. They might. I didn't record it, but some sort of time variance authority, if you will. That's
Yeah.
a Marvel. That's a Marvel concept. Um,
Okay.
but some sort of time variance authority has put you know uh, laws and restrictions on what you can do, and they've
Mhm.
ranked people and things and events with low, medium, and high levels of timeline importance.
I do like that. I do
Yeah.
like the concept of, hey, if this person didn't exist, this is a high priority person. We
Yeah.
might not have this invention in the future. Or if they're like a kind of a lower level, maybe they're, I don't know, like a criminal or something,
Yeah.
then it doesn't cause those ripples. I like that concept a lot.
Right, like this person, if this person dies, it'll cause a paradox, or
Right.
it will change things about our world so deeply that we won't recognize it. Um, so like if Albert Einstein died, or George Washington died, or um, you know, if World War II never happened. In this game, they really directly address if 9/11 never happened.
Yeah.
Um, and the idea that they can't save anybody who died in the World Trade Center attacks.
Right.
Um,
There is a little bit of an idea of some things are meant to be no matter how many times you change them, that the outcome is going to be the same.
right,
Almost
right,
this idea of like, well, that's just the fate of it, and we shouldn't try to play God with every single thing, you know?
right. So things are ranked medium, high, medium, and low. And if it's ranked low, you can pay a certain amount of money to these companies like Chronozen to have an experienced time traveler bring you back in time, or they do it themselves if it's too dangerous for you to go,
Yeah.
uh, and change something, or just visit somewhere.
Yeah. If I may, can I read what Dave Gilbert said about this, how he
Sure.
describes it?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
he describes this as time travel is real and history is up for grabs. In this point and click, you play Fia Quinn, a time agent for the Chrono Zen agency. Your job is to keep close watch on 7 travelers who have the desire and the bank accounts to sightsee in the past. Some are simply curious, others have unfinished business to resolve. They've all put down a lot of money for the trip, so it's vital you keep them happy while ensuring they follow the rules. But what could go wrong? It's only time travel after all.
Hmm.
And I think that's a really succinct way to put it. You are a time
Right.
traveler working for a company that, if you have enough money, you can go back in the past and either do something kind of marginal, or you could just, check it out.
Right. So I think on that front, because you are chrono locked, you are probably a low priority person because they already have you.
Yeah.
Everything you've done is set in stone, and your existence is set in stone as your chrono locked self. But that doesn't mean that they're going to protect a version of you. So one thing that happens in this game, which we'll be talking about a lot, I'm sure, is that things shift. And because the Chrono Zen employees are time locked, they can watch it shift. They'll just be sitting in a bar, and this is the first thing that happens in the game. Fia's sitting in a bar where there's this really obnoxious voice actor playing the bartender.
Wow. Wow.
No,
We're just going to turn this recording right around.
Roses plays the bartender, Mix, and she does a really good job.
Mix. Aw.
And she's sitting in a bar just chatting with a dude, and a purple wave comes across the bar, and the dude just blinks out of existence. He might not exist, or he might just never have ended up in that bar that day, right? We don't know.
This is okay. This is where I'm going to start to nitpick immediately. So because Fia and the other time agents, because they're chrono locked, they can see this happening in real time. Does that mean that if other people were in the bar, they wouldn't notice it then?
Correct. For them,
Okay.
it never happened. That guy was never there.
But if there's that many, I don't know. So I don't know how many time agents there are in this game. I don't know how many people are going back in time and trying to rewrite things.
Seems about 3 or 4 per agency, and it seems like there's like maybe it seems as if maybe there's like a dozen or 2 agencies around the world.
It just feels like, okay, well, wouldn't that be happening all the time then? Wouldn't they be seeing shifts like all the time?
Yes, and they are, right? Like every time you check the news in your room, it's different. Every time you check your social media profile, the person that you were becomes a completely different person.
It confuses me.
So it's basically like whatever led Fia to be chosen by Chrono Zen to be one of their agents somehow changed. Maybe it was her 11th grade teacher's great-great-grandfather's farm went bankrupt in 1850.
Yeah.
And then the grandfather moved to a different country, so married a different person, so Fia was never born. Or maybe Fia's parents did meet, but they met in a different city, so she had different cultural surroundings and just became a different person than she was in her original timeline. Like, that's the thing about this game that's so interesting. This is happening all the time, and what the game is implying is that this is happening to me and you constantly, and we just don't know it.
But how would you not know it?
Because
how would the concept of the past even exist if you wouldn't know it?
Well, because everything that happened, again, think about it like multiple timelines. So everything you remember right now, this is going to be tough to explain. Everything that you remember right now is true. If it changes tomorrow, then imagine it's just on a different timeline, and now you are in a timeline where none of it happened, and the thing that you remember tomorrow is what has always happened.
But where does that timeline exist?
Well, so it's hard they don't go into that in this game.
Yeah.
Um,
Which makes me upset. So I'm the type of person who I have a million questions and I want to deeply understand something. Like
right.
deeply understand. I want to know how it works. When I was studying, wheel throwing, I was asking, and they like it when you ask questions.
Mhm.
Teachers do, at least. I don't know how Dave would feel if I just bombarded him with questions. But, I'd be like, okay, that step, what does that do? Why am I doing that step?
Right.
And once I know why I'm doing it, got it. I will repeat it over and over again. So for games like this, not just games, anything time travel
Yeah.
related, I need to know why something's happening and how it works. So
Yeah,
as
I
a
mean
tangent, I almost went into computer programming and couldn't do
okay.
it because I couldn't wrap my brain around abstract concepts.
Okay.
And I'm an abstract artist. There's something wrong with me. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. The game doesn't, that's where you suspend your disbelief. It doesn't
Or
explain every aspect of the timelines.
I don't even think you have to suspend your disbelief. I think you just have to submit to not knowing because Fia herself
Mhm.
doesn't know.
Okay.
It, you know, they don't to Fia those that other timeline just never. I mean, it
Right.
happened in her memory because she knows it, and they also make a point that even when you're chrono locked, the things that change do fade from your memory after a while too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Um,
true. They did mention that.
but so you remember. I will, she'll remember talking to that guy in the bar for a couple days, and then she might
Yeah.
forget. And it's interesting because in another timeline, she gets a call from him. This is the only thing that I think maybe is a little bit of a inconsistency. She
Uh-huh.
gets a call from him, and they're married.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
But why wouldn't he have married the other Fia in that timeline? Why would he have married this one?
Yeah. That is a little bit of a, or maybe he did marry the other Fia and the call went to her
That
somehow.
was
I'm not
really,
sure.
yeah, that was another thought I had. Maybe it's just like sometimes they get quantumly entangled,
Yeah.
and if somebody's, yeah, trying to reach your alternate self, they reach you instead.
Yeah.
But
But that's speculation and,
absolutely.
yeah.
So that was the only moment in the game where I felt like that could have been an inconsistency in its logic. The rest of the logic I felt held up really, really well. There's just unknowns that uh, aren't filled in. Like, again, do other
Yeah.
timelines spawn other universes? Or is the theory here that there is one universe and it can be changed in a way that things never happened in any reality?
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
and that's where I fumble a little bit because I wanna
right.
know. I don't like these unknowns. I wanna know. You're presenting me with an amazing concept.
Yeah.
This just this amazing idea of time travel, and I wanna know every thought about how you think it works. And
Well,
that's
that
asking a lot. I get that.
that brings me to a thought that which is like, I don't often think this when I get to the end of any piece of media, when I get to the end of a TV show or a movie or a game or whatever. But I got to the end of this and I was like, I kind of want a sequel. I kind of like
Hmm.
this world.
I do too.
And I mean, Fia's story completely wraps up.
Yes.
So does the three main characters, Duffy, Fia, and Nazo.
Yeah.
Their stories completely wrap up. But so I don't need another game with any of them.
Yeah.
But I
You
kind
just
of
want it.
would like another game in this universe with more, yeah, like what's going on in Chrono Zen London? What's going on in
Yeah.
Chrono Zen Boston? Like, and I know Dave is particularly tied to New York, right? A
Yes, he
lot
is.
of all I was gonna say a lot, but do all of his games take place in New York?
I don't know if all of them do, but I would say majority.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me pull up
I would
his
love to see a
resume for a second.
Chicago-based one. I think that'd be sick.
Of course you would.
How dare you?
Blackwell takes place in New York.
Yeah.
The Shiva takes place in New York.
I think Unavowed takes place in New York.
Unavowed, Old Skies, Emerald City Confidential. Does that take place in New York? No, I think that takes place in a. That's also the one I've never played.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't either.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense. I mean, you write what you know and what you love, and the more you
Yeah.
do that, the better quality it'll be, right? So when I play these games, I'm like, I trust that Dave knows what neighborhood he's talking about and what things
Yeah.
look like, you know?
Even though Dave now lives near me, so
Yeah.
maybe his next
Interesting.
game will be based on southeastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe, who knows?
Or
Maybe
like, the biggest city sort of by you, I guess, is Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Yeah,
So maybe it'll be about Philly.
who knows? I have a feeling it'll be about New York again, though.
I have a feeling it'll be about Chicago.
he
And it's not
again.
because I'm going to message him about it. Definitely not.
So, yeah, I would love to see more of this world, which again, it's not a feeling I generally have.
Yeah.
Most of the time when I finish a work, I want to move on to a different work with different characters in a different setting.
Yeah.
But I really liked this premise. I think this take on time travel is really interesting.
Hmm.
And I guess we should talk about the chapters, because he handles many different aspects of it
Yes.
throughout this game.
I gotta say, I love how this game is set up. If you've never, I don't think you've specifically played Callahan's Cross Time Saloon, but
Mm-mm.
it's very much in line with that kind of storytelling, in
Okay.
that you kind of start your day in Callahan's, you would start your day at the bar, right? And or the saloon, whatever.
Mhm.
And then somebody would come to you with like a thing, a problem, an adventure, and then you would go do that adventure.
Sure.
And maybe they're all connected at the end, but actually one of those chapters is a time travel chapter where we go with a time agent named Josie to go back and fix like the invention of the chocolate bar.
Okay.
Or like save, not just fix the invention, but like save a rainforest has all these like special chocolate cacao buds. So
Yeah.
the Old Skies is kind of like that, in which you're a time agent. Each chapter, you're going to have a different client that you help, and thus you're going to see a different story,
Mhm.
but they are nicely woven together by the end.
Yes.
Like there are little connections you can make, throughout, and sometimes huge connections you can
And
make.
some of those connections are really subtle.
Yeah,
I don't think we're going to spoil the ending. The ending has a big twist. I think we will have to spoil some of the stuff in chapters to talk about some of the more affecting and emotional moments of the game.
yeah. No,
But
we
I
don't have
don't
to spoil
think
the
we'll
ending.
spoil the big twist at the end. And I think, but I'll point one thing out that I don't know if you noticed.
Hmm.
Duffy was asking people for books that were chrono locked
I don't
earlier
know
in
if
the
I
game.
clocked that or not. Or maybe I did. Or maybe I just didn't think much of it at the time.
Yeah, yeah, me neither. Until I was showering today, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
wait. uh, yeah, I think. Okay, why don't we talk about the chapters? Because
Sure.
there's one overall theme to this game. Maybe we'll talk about overall themes at the end.
Sure.
But there's one overall theme to this game, which is like time is more complicated than you think. Like, or
Yeah.
sorry, the past is more complicated than you think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, do you wanna give like a brief, not no spoiler, but low spoiler summary of chapter one?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it low.
Yeah.
So I actually think the first chapter is probably the shortest chapter, because I think it's trying to get you used to what you're going to be doing.
Hmm.
It's got a little bit of a tutorial vibe to it, but I like this chapter because we go back to the year 2024, which is fun. We
Yeah.
start, where do we start? It's like 2062 or something like that.
2084.
28, even more than I thought. So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
current day is 2084. We are taking a client back to 2024.
yeah.
So present day, essentially. And we're taking our older client back to his college years. And he's not giving us all the details of when he wants to go back. He says he wants to go back and have a meal at one of his favorite diners, which is the Silver Flare.
Right.
But he actually has a more secret reason for going back that has to do with rewriting history a little bit. And
Right.
yes, we will have to spoil this.
Yeah, he runs away.
Yeah,
Um
he's a runner.
there's another concept that introduces itself here that I think is very cool, and it's the idea of subvocalization.
Right.
Uh, the characters, when they are in the past, because they can't talk about what's happening without, making
Looking
others,
insane.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, or tipping other people off to things that they shouldn't know. Uh, they communicate not through telepathy, which is a concept that's very important to the X-Men, but also a concept that, regardless of that, I kind of hate. Because, like, talking to people through telepathy, don't you? That's a thing that kind of doesn't make sense,
No, it
right?
does not.
Because
I was going to bring that up.
you don't have uh, you don't have a direct stream
Right.
of thought in telepathy. Like, you
Right.
couldn't, if you were to read my thoughts, it wouldn't just be a sentence that you could understand. It would be a collage of images, and even if I was trying to think a specific sentence, other thoughts would pop in, and there'd just be random shit. i'd be like
Absolutely.
I'd be like, "Hey, roses, my laundry's almost done. Have two bunnies. What? Hold on." And then I'd have to restart, right? Like,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, they do say that it
but
is something you have to learn and, like,
well,
get good at. So,
this is what's this is what I think is interesting. He doesn't use telepathy in his game. They use subvocalization, which is
okay.
a thing that happens in our reality. It's a real thing. Um, when you are reading, oftentimes
Oh.
you will be silently articulating the words in your
Sure.
mind. You'll be thinking about, and maybe even your muscles will be moving slightly.
Yeah.
Um, like, your vocal cords will be shaping the words as if you're
Yeah.
speaking, though your mouth and your tongue and your lungs are not doing the things necessary to speak.
Right.
So in this game, you have to do that. Your characters all do that consciously.
Right.
So, like, you're thinking, basically, you're um at all times preparing to speak these words without letting them escape your mouth.
Mhm.
I think that's really clever, and that's a really good that's a really smart fix to the telepathy problem, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, that would, if you had something that was capable of reading your vocal cords and turning it into speech,
Mhm.
that would work.
I still think it's tough to believe, but they do a good job making it believable, at least in this universe. You know what I mean?
Right. I think
Like, you
it's
don't
tough.
always have to
Yeah.
have a realistic idea for a story. It just needs to be believable in the story that you're writing. And I think they do a good job of that.
To to me, I think this is as believable as other things that exist, like a cybernetic arm, right?
Mhm.
Like, you can we have the technology to get for you to get a robot arm, and when you try to close your fist, it closes its fist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think it's actually out of the realm of possibility to get something that does that on your vocal cords.
Yeah. No, it is a good idea for sure.
Anyway, I thought that was cool. Anyway, so sorry. Sorry,
That's
that's
okay.
a
We got
tangent.
it. Yeah, no, it's a good thing to explain because it's a big part of this universe's how it works, how Chronozen works. Um, but
How'd
yeah,
you feel about
so
this first chapter?
I actually thought this was a great opener
Yeah.
as a first chapter. It was immediately hard hitting. You're basically your client basically wants to go back to college in hopes of saving his girlfriend from a fatal accident in a science lab. He doesn't tell us this. He plans to, because if he does this, that's kind of a high priority change. So
Yes.
you need to be approved, and they actually joke about this in the game. It's like, who's vetting these people? Like, why are these clients not getting vetted?
Yeah.
Um, and so, he doesn't tell us right away. He makes a run for it, while after he's done eating, at the Silver Flare, and then just try. I don't know what his plan was there, but trying to save his girlfriend from this accident.
It explains a lot of concepts really well, like the high, medium, and low priority,
Yeah.
because in this scenario, and I don't think all of the priority levels are related to time travel, but in this scenario, it is that if he stops this explosion, like he's petitioned to save his girlfriend before,
Mm-hmm.
but he is high priority. His girlfriend from college was not. And his petition was turned down because if he saves his low priority girlfriend, it might change his high priority life, and time
Right.
travel might never be invented, and it could cause a paradox.
Yeah.
So, very interesting. There's a choice you make at the end of this chapter where he has desynced himself time wise in a way he didn't fully understand.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he was breaking the law. He knew he'd get arrested, but he didn't understand that by taking off his like time sync bracelet, that it would be impossible for him to come back.
Right.
So at the end, you have to kill him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Vaporize him out of existence. Yeah.
And he thinks he saved his ex. You know he didn't.
Yeah.
So you can tell him that there's another thing in this game. Fee is not good at lying. So it gives you a bunch of options, but
Mm-hmm.
if you lie, he kind of knows you're lying, and then he
Yeah.
gives you another chance to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So your two options are you can tell him he failed, or you can kill him before you answer.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I told him the truth.
Whoa. Okay. How did that pan out?
He was pretty angry. But like
Wow.
in my brain, I'm like, this guy's gonna die in 2 seconds. It's not like he's gonna remember it. What? It's true.
My interpretation was this guy's gonna die in 2 seconds, so I would rather he goes out feeling happy than sad.
Not me. He broke the rules. He could have caused horrible things to happen had we not intervened. He doesn't deserve that. He deserves the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I'm tough.
Whoa. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, I shot him before I answered.
Okay. That's fair.
So then I think let's keep going through the chapters because there's some really interesting. Because like like that one is interesting because it talks about how there are things you wish were different, but if you in your life, right, there are things in your past you wish were different,
Yeah.
but if you changed them, you would be a different person.
Yeah. There'd be something, even depending on what you've done in life, what kind of accomplishments
Right.
had you done, you could cause, it'd just be a disaster.
We think about like the suffering that we've been through as like sometimes we think of like I would do anything not to feel that. But if you anything you change about your life would change you, right? Like if you didn't get
Yes.
bullied in school, you wouldn't be the you are now. If
Yeah.
if you didn't go through whatever trauma you went through, in life, you wouldn't be the you are now. And I think that is an interesting way to open the game,
Yeah.
and a
It's
very
also just an
sort of
interesting
emotional one.
thought because that could either be good or bad. You know, had I not gone through the trauma of my dad's death, for example, when I was a teenager,
Yeah.
I don't know that maybe that would have had a better consequence for me. Maybe I wouldn't have had an
Yeah.
eating disorder. Maybe,
Right.
X, Y, and Z. Maybe I would be a better person, or maybe I would be a
Or
worse person. Maybe I'm stronger because of it.
yeah,
I think that's an
we
interesting
wouldn't.
thing to ponder.
Yeah, we wouldn't know. It'd
Yeah, you
be
wouldn't know.
it's interesting to think about, but it's impossible to come to conclusions about. So yeah, again, the game is lighthearted,
It
but
is. It's got a good sense of humor about it.
it deviates into these really heavy topics if you stop to think about them.
Yes.
Um, so what happens in the next chapter?
I love the next chapter. I think the next chapter is one of my favorites in terms of atmosphere.
Mhm.
So in the next chapter, we have a client who wants to ask a boxer a question. That's her reasoning. I think she stands by that
Yeah,
reasoning.
she's being honest. That
Yeah,
is
I think she's being
totally it.
honest, and that's her true reasoning. She wants to ask why a boxer from like the 1890s, why he retired.
Mhm.
Like what happened in this particular time of his life. And so we go back to I think it's the 1890s, and we're all dressed up in our cute little dresses, and everyone has like a handlebar mustache, and I love the atmosphere of this setting. Settings are huge to me in adventure
Yeah.
games. I can get swept away if the setting is right. And this is one of those settings that I'm just like, oh yeah, I am digging this a lot. So we kind of this gets way more complex, by the way, than the first chapter, because
Yeah.
we are dealing with a boxer who is being sabotaged essentially by other people. One of those people might be his family members. One of those people might be another boxer, who is told to take a fall.
Yeah.
And it doesn't become about the question anymore, that our client has.
Mhm.
Um, it now turns kind of into this journey of trying to fix a situation because murders start to happen, child death might happen. Like
Mhm.
it's really complex, and it also introduces a new mechanic. It's recurring, but it's not in every chapter. But it introduces a mechanic where you have a little time tunnel. um your coordinator like hooks you up with a small time tunnel that allows you to go back like the previous morning, or like 6, or maybe not even that soon, like 6 months ago or something like that. It's a very small tunnel that you can go. So it's kind of like Fran Bow. When you take a pill, you get like an alternate version of the setting you're in. If you use the time tunnel in this setting, you'll go back to an earlier state. It's the same setting, just earlier. And so you're kind of playing with people's minds and trying to influence people. And there's a lot of dark parts in
Yeah.
this chapter. And what did you think? Here's a question. What did you think about the rewind mechanic? Because that happens a lot in this one.
Yeah, so when you get killed, if you die in this game, they can rewind you not very far,
Yeah, not very
like
far.
a couple minutes, so that you can retry a scenario. I died so many times.
I did too.
I could not, like, the solutions were tough.
They are tough, and that's definitely a critique I have. Is I found myself rewinding a lot, and not just on accident either. This is part of the mechanic, is you might have to rewind
Yeah,
whether you like it or not, and you might have to do it several times to get
because
to
you need information that you can use.
correct. Yeah. Um, I do like the mechanic. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe it was overused towards the end. You probably know what I'm referring to, right?
Yes. Well, towards the yeah, because towards the end, you are given a specific. There's basically a timer,
Yeah.
and you have to do a series of. You have to figure out the things that you need to do, and then do that series of things within the timer. And you can't possibly do it in your first countdown.
Right, you can't. It's like
Um,
trial by trial by fire.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I did it about after like 4 or 5, but it was still. Yeah, I could see that being very frustrating, especially
Yeah.
because I'm sure there are people who it took them 10 or 20, which
Absolutely.
it did for me in this first chapter. And what I think was frustrating about it was that the solutions didn't necessarily follow from. You wouldn't necessarily assume the solution from the chain of events,
Mhm.
right? Like, there's a time where you have to basically stay silent while an argument is happening
Mhm.
and let it play out for a second. And if you haven't done that, you might have tried 17 conversation trees before you try stay silent and then stay
Yeah,
silent again,
that's true.
because you don't know what anybody's going to do. So since there's three to four dialogue options at each step along this way, you might. I mean, what? That's dozens of combinations
Yeah.
that you have to try if you haven't picked. Because again, it's not obvious. You could be the smartest person in the world, and it wouldn't be obvious to you
Yeah.
which dialogue options will lead to the actions that need to happen in order for you to. So, like, again, in this scenario, you're trying to get a guy to slip on a pool ball.
Mhm. I screwed that up so many times. So many times.
By doing it, you have to let the argument play out and then encourage somebody to like what taunt him,
It's like
and then he
bluff, yeah, taunt
and
him,
then
yeah.
he takes a step forward.
Yeah.
But that's on the third dialogue option.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how would I possibly? Because okay, there's a spot on the floor where you can put the pool ball,
Yep.
and that's the spot where he's supposed to stand,
Yeah.
or that he stands, and the pool ball rolls off of that spot. So I just kept rewinding, and he would come in, and I'd be like, I don't know how to get the pool ball to stay where it is.
Right,
I have
and that's
no
not
other
what you have to
inventory
do.
options.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to get him to step forward. But I
Yeah.
never saw him step forward in any of the dialogues.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
had
no,
no
it's
idea
tough.
that's yeah. So it was, again, it just doesn't follow logically that this step would lead to this outcome. You just
Yeah.
have to try everything, and if you don't get lucky, you might be trying 40 different combinations.
Yeah. The dialogue tree puzzles are certainly, deduction based. Like, basically process of elimination, trial by fire, and that can be very frustrating, and I did find it frustrating. I don't dislike the mechanic. I just wish I had a sense of I knew what I was doing a little bit more, because it felt like it just felt so chaotic, dude. I'm like, "Oh my god, I died again."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what am I doing wrong here?
Right. Yeah, you can't. You say they're deduction based, but I want to say you can't deduce it based on the information you have at the beginning. You have to
Right,
see
right.
yes, you have to see.
You deduce it by what you've already used, which again is just more process of elimination, which is annoying
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It can be
because there's a lot of
tedious.
options. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish that there were some logical thread you could follow, that it would be like, oh yeah, if I have her say this, that might lead him to do this.
Yeah.
It feels random.
No,
But
you're right. You're right.
anyway, yeah, I think the it turns out like the the person that she was admiring is not who she thought he was, but
Yeah.
that guy's what changed that guy was that his father wasn't who he thought he was.
You mean
I like
uncle?
his uncle wasn't who
Yeah.
he thought he was. Like, yes, there's this series of everybody is different than you think they were, and that's like where this theme of the past is more complicated than you think starts
Yeah.
to come in.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that there's just these themes of like the past might be wrong. It might be documented wrong even. We
oh,
don't
true,
know
right.
because we weren't there, you know?
Well, I mean, and in this instance, uh, you could make the argument that the past was documented correctly,
Yeah.
but missing so much context, it would lead you to believe something about it that's not true. Which is again why it's like, oh, probably everything in history, and I think about this a lot as you know, uh, as an anthropology major, right? Like that when we draw conclusions about stuff, it is almost certainly when we draw conclusions about history is almost certainly more complicated than we think it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that's you can also uh is this the chapter where you can change somebody's name? No, it's the next chapter.
Can't. Yes, you can. Yep,
Mhm,
you can.
mhm.
In the next chapter, you can
Yeah.
change someone's name. Yeah.
Do you have any other more observations about this chapter, or do you want to move on?
No, we can move on.
All right. I'm going to have you, if you don't mind, explain the next chapter also. You're
Yeah, I
taking
think
on the heavy lifting for
it's
my
all
throat.
good. So in this chapter, our client is a art curator. She works for a fine arts museum, and when we go to meet her, she has all these paintings in her museum. The museum will become a point of interest
Yeah.
for a very particular reason, by the way. And I like I like the client. I like what she wants to do. She loves this artist named Pi Sycamore. And I kind of forgot, maybe you can like direct me a little bit. I forgot what her exact want was, but it to me it seemed like she just wanted to find other Pi Sycamore paintings that have been lost to
she
time.
she had a painting
Yeah.
that she suspected was by Pi Sycamore.
Oh, that's right. And it wasn't signed.
It wasn't signed, so she needed to authenticate it.
That's right. That's right. That is correct. Um, so we go into the past. We go into the Roaring 20s for this one. Always a fun time.
Yeah.
And yeah, this chapter I think is the most comical of the chapters because we have to deal with a very gratuitous couple who are just constantly getting drunk and like stealing cop cars, and we have to talk to them because they're like related to the case,
Yeah.
and they just crack me up, to be honest. Terrible people, but they
Yeah.
crack me up. Unfortunately, we find out really quickly the that our client can't go with us. She keeps feeling sick, and we don't know why.
Yeah.
And that's because turns out she's related to somebody in this case, which makes it very interesting. So,
This is where
this,
we learn about precursor syndrome.
yeah. So that when you're close to something, or when you're particularly when you're related to someone in the past, you get this nauseous feeling and you just get completely ill.
Mhm.
So our client sits that out, and we basically figure out who they're related to, if the painting is a pie sycamore. Um, and that starts to weave together this string of characters who are connected now. Like for some reason, we keep finding these little connections in this game. Should I do a quick spoil? A quick spoil?
Yeah, sure.
It's just an important. It's just so important. It's just important part where they do weave
Yes.
things together. So in the gallery where there are these pie sycamore paintings, there is a specific painting of an angelic figure saving somebody from a
Yes.
certain death. And we learn that we are meant to be that angelic figure, and that we had actually met the artist in the past in the boxer chapter, and we saved her from
Yeah.
certain death. And that caused a ripple where this person became an artist, and she painted us. She painted that very instance.
Right. So the person who saved. Yeah, okay. Yes. So Pi Sycamore ended up being the girl that we saved in
Hmm.
chapter 2, the boxer chapter. Then further spoiler, turns out, like you were saying, the client who hired us is related to, oh boy,
Well, she's related
because this
to
this gets
the artist.
complicated. She's related to the artist, which means she's also related to the boxer. Which
Yeah,
means
no, it gets complicated.
she's related to, that means she's also related to the like leader of the biggest crime gang in New York
Correct,
in
yeah.
the 18, so she's related to every important person in history.
No, it's definitely a little confusing at times.
I think
But
that's
you don't
I think
need to
that's
get
funny.
every
Yeah.
detail right. I think if you know that obviously there is connections being
Mhm.
woven throughout this story, I think that's good enough. So don't like bash your head in if you're not clocking every single detail at
Yeah.
first, because it is a
It's,
lot.
I mean, I only just now put together that means that that what's her name too? I'm
Imani.
where's Yeah, that Imani is related to the crime lord
Yeah,
of New
yeah,
York and the most famous boxer of all time. Like, that's so funny.
yeah. It's insane.
But
It's like a distant relation, but
yeah.
it is there.
So
Um,
I thought this chapter was really fun because,
I did too.
again, it's also leaning into this idea of like, your past, your family history is more complicated than you realize.
Yeah.
But it also is just really fun romp. You're just chasing around this drunk couple who's doing things like stealing cop cars and holding up bars and
Mhm.
holding up a bar with a Tommy gun so that they can sing karaoke.
Yeah, it's funny the way it's described too. It's like there seems to be a hostage situation going on here. I really did like that chapter. And I know the 20s are used a lot, particularly in adventure games, because it's such a fun setting
Mhm.
to explore and decorate, and it's easy to get weary of that
Yeah,
setting. But I thought this was really fun. I thought everything looked amazing, and the characters were very funny.
absolutely. There is, however, a puzzle in this chapter that I actually absolutely hated.
Sure, which one?
The puzzle where you have to open the safe.
Okay. Mhm.
So it involves rewinding.
Yeah,
One character knows the first, based on one character knows the entire combination of the safe. One character knows the first digit
right.
of the safe combination. So you can watch one of them open the safe and then write down, like, okay, I know that now. I know the first digit because she left it in after whatever. And then another situation where after the guy fully opens it, you can look at the safe and know what the last digit is, but you don't know what the
Right.
middle digit is. So you have to intuit that the middle digit, okay, even though the first digit is not an important date and the last or important number or whatever, the last digit is not an important number, you have to know that just the middle digit is an important date in
Right.
somebody's life,
Right.
which is crazy. Why would you just like randomly pick one number, then pick the last two digits of the most important event in my life,
Yeah.
and then another random number? You wouldn't do that. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It would have made more sense if all three digits added up, or like not added up, but all three digits put together were the full date of that
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
But they're not. It's just two random numbers, and then the middle one happens to be a really crucially important number.
Yeah. I definitely struggled with that puzzle. I think I did look up a walkthrough to
Me
get
too.
through it. Yeah.
Me too. And I to the point where I was trying to make connections from the other numbers to different things in that person's life to make
Yeah.
this puzzle make sense.
Yeah.
And Dave Gilbert was in the comments of Steam page, his
Oh,
Steam
okay.
discussion, and he's saying, I didn't even notice that was a connection. I should have made those random.
Oh.
Then that is even more infuriating because, again, why would you go? It's like, oh, I wouldn't say, okay, I have to do a safe combination. I'll pick, I don't know, 7, and then the date of my child's birth, and then I don't know, 45. Right? Like, you wouldn't do that. No person on
Yeah.
earth would ever do that.
Yeah.
You would either use 3 important numbers or 3 random numbers. And
Yeah.
there's no indication anywhere. Nobody hints in dialogue or in text that, the middle number of this safe combination is an important date. Nobody does.
It's
Makes me
hard,
so mad.
yeah.
Made me
And
so
there's
mad.
a lot
I'm
of
like,
number puzzles in this game.
that was the only, well, almost all the puzzles in this game are about opening doors. But that is that's the only puzzle in this game that made me legitimately mad. Everything else, all the other puzzles, even if they were like slightly frustrating, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, I get it, or what,
it's
like,
fair.
but this puzzle, I was like, why did you do this? What could possibly be the thought process here?
That's fair. That's fair.
Anyway,
So, we're getting far into this podcast. I still want to talk about the chapters, but I'm gonna try to concise it and
I
speed it
think
up for
we
you guys.
I think we need to, yeah, I think we would have needed to anyway stop before chapter 5, because chapter 5, I
Mhm.
think, is when the big spoilers start happening.
Yeah, and I think we're explaining this that people get what the game is about. They get how it's going to go. I will say I'm not we're gonna stop we're gonna talk about chapter 4 and probably not go into chapter 5 or 6 because that's kind of like that's going into endgame. I
Exactly.
did not like chapter 4.
Okay.
It seemed and they are all connected, but it seemed unrelated to everything else I was doing.
Okay.
I didn't like the characters as much in this chapter. I did like there's a couple drones flying around. I like those drones. They were real cute.
Mhm.
But I think I just didn't like I don't know if I just didn't like the mission I was on, I think for that one. And this is pretty common with these kind of structured games. Like in
Yeah.
Callahan's, there are chapters I like more than other chapters. Sanitarium's a good example too. There are chapters I
Right.
like in Sanitarium way more than I like. And this is one of the chapters that I didn't like as much as the others.
Right.
Um, but I guess what you're doing is your client worked for this place called Leaves.
Mhm.
I don't know how to describe this place. They're like a salad making
It's
dispensary.
like, I think it's kind of like a joke. They're like a salad dispensary, but also like a tech startup. It's
It's weird.
very silly, and
Yeah.
also something you could totally see existing and
Yeah.
making you mad in the modern world.
Yeah. And something I guess what we're trying to do is like we're trying to there's like a big like speech that's going to happen and there's a very important person
Mhm.
attending this speech that's going to happen. And we have to basically determine who is going to make that speech.
So
Um
it's funny because you finish this chapter happens in 3 phases.
mhm.
And I don't know if this was your experience, but you finish the first phase and you're like, that was a very easy one.
Right, right,
That was
right.
so much easier than the other chapters.
Mhm.
And then it's like, then you get another client that's also related to this, and you're like, oh, okay, this is getting more complex.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, that was interesting. And then you go back to the present and get another client that's related to this, and then it just
Yeah.
gets more and more complex.
It's like every time we change something, somebody else from the company is unhappy. And then we have to go back
Yeah.
and make that right. And then someone else is unhappy. It's a
I
comical notion. I do like that.
I'll say I liked this setting the least, but
Yeah.
I did like the idea.
Yeah.
I did like this chapter overall. Um Basically what happens is you are now Fia ends up having to revisit the same scenario 3 times, so there's 3 Fias. and each of them has to avoid the other one and are
Right.
unaware of the one that's coming.
Right.
Um, so like first Fia has no idea there's any other Fias around. Second Fia knows that she was there in the first place and has to avoid her past self, but has no idea that a third Fia is coming. And then third Fia knows about the other previous two and so has to move in a way that she avoids both of them. I thought that was kind of fun.
It is
I
kind of fun, and I do have an maybe you can explain this, I don't know if it's an inconsistency or not, but in a lot of
okay.
time travel stories, you are not supposed to see like, another version of you. It
Mhm.
causes a reaction where y'all are both gonna melt, and that sucks. And we see that a lot in these kind of time travel, uh, stories. You're not supposed to see yourself again.
Mhm.
But there is a point where another character who isn't a time agent, they do see themselves and nothing happens. So why don't they get that same reaction that we do if we see ourselves?
There's a character. Can you explain who this character is?
I I should have wrote it down. I'm sorry that I did not write it down. It might have been Imani, maybe, but there is a character that sees one of their they see themselves and they make a choice. Oh, no, it was I'm so sorry. It's is this a chapter 5 thing? It might be it's in the 9/11 type of storyline. Yes. Do you remember the character Tana Hannah?
Yeah.
The weathered cop
When does she see herself?
at the end. Doesn't young self see her older self?
Oh, you're right. Okay. So
Yay!
I think she does stop existing at that point, right?
But they should have both melted upon seeing each other. They actually younger Hannah and older Hannah talk to each other. They're on the same screen for minutes at a time.
Yeah, I know. I think I maybe I don't remember how quickly Thea melts when she sees Thea.
Quickly,
Okay.
immediately.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's something about being chrono locked makes you, or
Yeah.
it could be just be an inconsistency. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but
Again,
I
I just had that question, man, like, how does that work?
there is
Like,
a
why?
there's a puzzle here that I do really like where
Mhm.
you set up basically a trap that in order to activate the trap, one nonsense word and two just completely random words have to be said.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of like monitor the language that is used in a conversation
Yeah.
and a conversation that you know will be repeating
Mhm.
and find sound alikes so that like the word couple would
Yeah.
set off the word cup.
Yeah.
I thought that puzzle, and you have to do this puzzle in twice in two different contexts, and I think
Mhm.
I liked that puzzle a lot.
Yeah, I did
Did you
too.
like that? Yeah.
I did like it. I thought it was clever and just an interesting,
Mhm.
like, brain teaser, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And this chapter is sort of what starts bringing in another big theme of this game, which is the idea of like what mark do you leave on the world and how important is that,
Yeah.
right? Do you if everything you do is completely unknown and potentially changes, does your life even matter? What
Yeah.
gives your life purpose knowing that you will leave no permanent trace of your existence?
I think that's always been an issue with time travel, and kinda sci-fi in general, is there is a nihilistic undertone of
Hmm.
none of this matters. It does not matter. Why are we even doing this if it's going to change or if we're not going to leave a legacy behind? I do struggle with that. I'm a goth, but I am not a nihilistic person. Even though Nine Inch Nails is one of my favorite bands and I'm here for a bad time, I'm still not a nihilistic person. So I do struggle with that question of does any of this matter?
Yeah, I mean people have been struggling with that for all time. The
Yeah.
oldest written story we have is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which directly addresses this exact thing. Gilgamesh is trying to become like his whole quest. Once he sees his friend die, he begins thinking about how pointless life is because of the existence of death, and he goes on a massive quest to try and gain immortality. And he fails because you can't do that. But when he returns from his quest, he looks at the things that he's created in life,
Yeah.
the walls of the city that he built or had built. And he realizes that he will live forever in the walls of and that gives his life meaning. The things that he's made on Earth will give his life meaning.
Yeah.
And what he doesn't know, and what is to me the most poignant part of reading the Epic of Gilgamesh, what he doesn't know is that this story that is told about him for well past the fall of the city of gives him immortality,
Yeah.
right? We still know Gilgamesh's name. So the thing that makes this more difficult is Fia knows that there's nothing she can do in the world that will
Mhm.
last.
Right.
She doesn't have that option of finding comfort in, oh, I can create something important.
Yeah.
She has to
Even
find.
in
Mhm.
relationships, even in
Yeah.
meeting people in this world as a time agent, one of the very first things that happens is somebody she's flirting with gets, you know, bunted out of existence,
Hmm. Yeah.
or
Even
bunted into a different, timeline.
there's even at the very at like post credits of this game, we're not going to say anything that happens here, but
Yeah.
even the ending of the game, and this almost seems like Wadjet Eye just saying "fuck you." um, the very ending of this game uh, gets erased
Yeah.
post credits, so it's like they really are leaning into this idea of like, how do you find meaning in something that doesn't last, in a
Mhm.
world that doesn't remember you or doesn't in this case even exist.
Yeah.
um which I think is an important question that we do all have to ask ourselves, right? I
Why?
obviously lean into creating things, right? And so do you.
Mhm.
But there are other aspects to life than creating that don't
Mhm.
leave marks, right? And they must still be valuable because
Well,
we
they are
still
valuable.
find value in them, right? So that's what I mean. That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Is it okay? Is taking a walk in the woods, is that a waste of time? Or is that a valuable part of life?
I think I don't really question um I don't really ask myself like does this mean anything? And that might be because I've been in therapy all my life and now I've become this self-aware walking disaster that wants to do everything all the time. And so I find value in everything, like all the time, knowing that I will die and knowing that I probably won't have a legacy, knowing that I'll be forgotten because I care more about the present time. I care more about what I'm doing right now, how I'm helping other people right now. And if that leaves a mark, it does. And if it doesn't, that's fine. That's fine too. I can't think about it too hard because that's how you depress yourself.
Right. I mean, I think that's why this is something that needs to be discussed
Yeah.
in the world and in our art. It's because we do live in this culture that is so focused on productivity.
Yeah.
It's part of a symptom of capitalism, right? But it's also partly a symptom of uh again, this um uh this has been happening since Babylonia, as I just said. So I don't know that we'll ever fix this as a culture, but this
Yeah.
disordered relationship we have with death. So society does tell us, right? Like we need to leave a legacy. And society tells us we need to be being productive at all
Yeah.
times,
And
right?
when we say productive, that means a certain thing, because we as a society tend to vote on what actually is productive and what actually is a waste of time. So, me taking a walk and looking at every flower and being like, "Wow, what a pretty flower." By society, they don't deem that as any kind of productivity, because what am I
Right.
putting into the world? Society really grills us to put something into the world and make it
Yeah.
important, and don't waste your time and burn the midnight oil and work really hard, when really I think product, and we talked about this in Wanderstop a lot.
Yeah,
I think
exactly. That's what I
yeah,
was just thinking about.
I think productivity should be anything that is helping you in the present. I do feel productive when I take a walk. That is
Right.
productivity. And why is it? Because it's going to help me to keep surviving, to keep living. Um, I
Right.
think,
I think this is I think Wander Stop is a great parallel to this game in a lot of
yeah,
ways, in ways that you wouldn't think of. Like it's not immediately apparent that
yeah,
Wander Stop and Old Skies have themes in common, like strong themes in common, but
yeah, they do.
Fia begins asking herself basically the questions from Wanderlust. I keep trying to say Wanderlust.
I know it makes sense. It does. It's easy to slip into that.
But Fia starts asking herself the questions from Wanderstop,
Yeah.
about 3/4 of the way through this game, and the last
Mhm.
two chapters are basically entirely about that.
Yeah. And I think that when you're doing anything time travel and sci-fi, just due to the nature of the genre, there is going to be kind of this morality. There's going to be these questions, right? These big questions of what does it matter if we can't change anything, for example. And I like that because it reminds me that it's not that deep, bro. Like not like overall, but like no, I shouldn't try to change what's happened. I shouldn't drill myself into a hole,
Yeah.
being quote productive. Um,
And
but yeah,
it's sort of I mean, it's sort of the lesson of time travel too, is you sh- you can't make everything perfect. So,
right.
you know, beating yourself up about things going wrong or being imperfect is a poor use of your time. It's a poor use
Yeah.
of your mental energy because, again, a lot of this game, you are working to try and make something perfect and
Mhm.
it's impossible.
Yeah. When you could have been putting that energy somewhere else, you know?
Making a better future, for
Yeah.
example.
Helping somebody, making
Yeah.
art, bettering the
Or
world in
just,
small ways.
or like, sort of this game posits towards the end, just enjoying your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think it is a nihilistic ending to think like, but does it matter if it's just going to change? But I do also think that sparks the notion of like, you should just enjoy your life then.
Yes.
Whatever you think's going to happen.
I can see what you're saying. I don't think this game is nihilistic.
Yeah.
I think it is saying the latter a lot more than it's saying the former. It is
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, things could change and you could have a nihilistic viewpoint about that. So why don't you fucking kill everybody? Why don't you
Yeah.
fucking destroy everything or why don't you just kill yourself?"
Yeah. It's
That
like that's some Rick and Morty shit right there.
exactly.
Yeah.
But this game's, does the opposite and says, "Hey, you even if you and the person you love are going to disappear tomorrow,
Yeah.
you still love them today and you
Yeah.
still are enjoying holding them in your arms today."
Yes.
Or again, like we were saying, taking a walk in the woods, watching your favorite TV show, uh making a dinner that you love and eating it, right? Like
Yeah.
these are still valuable even if they're temporary.
Yeah. I don't know how much you were able to observe or clock about me when we hang out in real life, but because I lost my dad at a young age, I had several overdoses where I nearly died. Um, and had an eating disorder and addiction for a very long time. I am a person that takes absolutely nothing for granted. Everything has value to me. If we're up walking and I see a pretty flower, I will stop to look at the flower. I will stop to smell the flower. I will probably take a picture of it and wonder what kind of flower it is. Because I don't want to take what I have for granted, knowing that I was in such a bad way before. And I don't want to change those things, like the game is positing. I wouldn't want to go back and try to fix my dad's cancer, or try to fix my overdoses and save myself some grief. So I just want to lean into what I have now. And I take,
Right.
again, absolutely nothing for granted. The smallest things make me the happiest person.
Because if you did that, then you wouldn't have learned the lesson to appreciate and enjoy life, right?
Right.
If
Yeah.
you went back and changed those things, you might have been just de facto a less happy person because you haven't learned those lessons,
Do you
right?
want to hear like the fucking dorkiest thing ever?
Please.
So
I always want to hear the dorkiest thing ever.
yeah, this might make some people giggle. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the show Crime Scene Kitchen, which is a show
Where could
in.
this be going?
I know, right? Like you don't even know. I'm a very unpredictable person. For everything you can predict, I will just go unhinged. So it's a show. It's a cooking show, actually, a baking show, and basically you have players who they set up this whole crime scene, quote crime scene, in a kitchen for you, and you have to guess what was baked. You get 2 minutes to look at the clues, and the clues can be anything from like, oh, there's a bit of like marzipan on this spatula. There's 4 cake pans in here. There's a lemon in the compost. And so you look at all the clues, and you have to recreate. You have to bake, competing against other people, what you thought was made. And yesterday, something was made that I had never seen before, and now
Okay.
it's my whole personality, and I want it. It makes me so happy. It's a vertical cake. Have you heard of this?
Vertical cake. No.
So, like, you know how when you cut into a cake, you have layers that go from top to bottom? Imagine you
Yes.
cut into a cake and you have layers that go horizontally.
Oh, like a don't they do that with rainbow cakes or are rainbow cakes stacked or
You can stack them either way. This was not a
okay.
rainbow cake. I don't know what kind of cake this was, but when they cut into the cake, Matt, when they cut into the cake, it was horizontal. It
Wow.
looked so cool.
Oh yeah, no. Rainbow cakes are stacked
They're stacked,
vertically.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you
Um
just look up like vertical cake, if you Google image search vertical cake, they do come up. I didn't know this was a thing, and I am so excited.
yeah,
You're just like, yeah, Sarah,
interesting.
that's great.
No, I guess I also didn't know about this.
Isn't it
Huh.
so cool? Do you want to make a vertical cake?
Um I mean, kinda. I always kinda wanna make a cake, but I often don't. I
Let's
rarely do.
Listen, when I'm out there for my tattoo,
Mm.
and yeah, I'm gonna be in pain, let's make a vertical cake. What's your favorite flavor of cake? Do you
I
even
don't
have
know.
one?
No, I like all of them. Vanilla's good, lemon's good,
Mhm.
chocolate's good. You know what I don't like? I don't like cakes that are soaked, like a tiramisu, but it's just
Okay.
because it's not that I don't like the flavor, I just don't like the, uh, sogginess.
Do you like any, like, pre-named cakes? So, like, carrot cake or German chocolate, forest cake, any of those things?
I mean, I don't like the combination of fruit and chocolate, so I don't like Black Forest cake.
Okay, because that's cherry, right?
Cherry and chocolate, yeah.
Yeah.
But what were the other
Like,
ones you suggested?
carrot do you like carrot cake?
Carrot cake's fine.
I like carrot cake.
It can be carrot cake can sometimes be so sweet that it, like, stings your throat.
It can be. It can be on the sweeter side, especially with the icing. Maybe we just okay, are you a chocolate guy or a vanilla guy?
Icing, I used to be a vanilla guy when I was a kid, but
Oh,
icing wise, chocolate for sure.
we're gonna make this cake. That's just that I'm way too excited about it now. Maybe we
Hey,
just make a vertical rainbow
hey,
cake.
pushing up roses.
Yes.
What does this have to do with old skies? What was it? You
Listen,
were
I'm
you were
so
tying this
sorry.
in somehow.
I'm
You were
editing
supposed
this,
to be tying
and
this in, and then we got
the whole point is what I'm trying to say is
yeah, that's
take
what I'm
nothing
curious.
for granted. Get excited about the small things. You're still being
Oh,
productive.
okay. A thing that you got very excited about means that you don't take things for. Okay, now
Yeah.
I see the connection. I was like, how
I just
how did
I
we?
listen, I just have an appreciation for the
Okay.
small things in life.
All right. So everybody, Wadjet Eye's Old Skies. It's about vertical cakes and the different ways that you can make them. Um, there's an ambiguous ending to this game, and again, we're not
Yeah.
going to spoil it, but I wonder what you think. Do you think Fia was merciful or
Hmm.
not? There's a choice you don't get to make. A lot of times, that choice you get to make in this game, but in the final scene
I
or
think
the final choice, you don't.
I think she was merciful, yes.
I think so too, especially based on what she does next.
Yeah. I was getting that vibe, and I think the other character we talked to also knows that we were merciful.
Oh, yes. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
the other character makes it clear in the very last scene that they know
Yeah, they know what went down.
what the ending of the game was, but
Yeah.
for Fia,
Yes.
but um, but your thought is that they also know what the ending of the game was for the
Correct.
other character. Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
I think
interesting.
so. Yeah, I think so. Everyone's pretty these characters are intuitive, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, they are. I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the things I like so much about this game, and like about the characters is all the characters in this game are smart.
Yes.
You never get a puzzle that's done by somebody being stupid, which is a thing that happens in a lot of adventure games.
It's
It's
true.
like oh, I don't know how to. I'm trying to think of like a good example, but I don't have one.
I
I'm
mean,
so
just
bad at thinking of
Roger Wilco
examples.
in general. Even
like
Guybrush Threepwood.
that's oftentimes the puzzle. Even characters that aren't stupid
True.
canonically,
Yeah.
in order to just include puzzles in the game, the designer has to be like, they forget how a oven works or something like that. Like, which can be really frustrating. I think
Yeah.
Wadjet Eye Games does a good job of. We talked about this with Dave actually. Wadjet Eye Games does a good job of only including puzzles that further the story rather
Yes.
than just impeding your progress for the sake of slowing you down.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's really admirable, and I think
Yeah.
it's done really well in this game. Except for that fucking safe puzzle. I guess that furthered the story, but it was
Man, you hate it.
Wadjet Eye. I'm so mad at you for that
Hates it
safe
so
puzzle. No
much.
human being would ever have done that.
Yeah, I remember talking to Dave about that, and I had called it, intentional design.
Yes.
This is
Mhm.
very intentional choice making
Yes.
and design,
Yes.
and they're excellent at their craft. I do want to say before we end this episode, and maybe you have a different opinion, I don't think this game is good for a first time adventure gamer. I think it's a little moderately harder than
Hmm.
that, but you may disagree.
Interesting. I didn't think. Yeah, I don't know that.
Here's the thing though, Matt, we're geniuses.
I do know that some people uh, on the internet, I saw some criticism of this game that it was
Mm,
too easy, but I think most of the people who are saying that that was a smokescreen for their real opinions that
yeah.
this game was too, whatever the fuck the word woke means anymore.
Sure.
I think the fact that there are several gay relationships in this game, the fact that there is a non-binary even though it's a
That's me.
robot.
It's not a robot, it's a hologram.
The fact that there's a non-binary character in this game, the fact that there's a there's a diverse cast,
Yeah.
I think made people mad, and rather
Weird.
than saying that out loud, they were just like, oh, the game was too easy, so it sucked.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that as
Yep.
an adventure game expert.
Yeah, me too. I don't think this game was too easy. I don't think
I
it
don't either.
at all. I think it was infinitely doable.
Yeah. And it's
But
not pushing
look,
anything on you. It's not what I would call, in quotes, woke. It's just normal. It's just normal storytelling with
let me
diverse
just
couples. That's it.
let me just set my credentials here for a second. I beat Blue Prince before it was
All
out,
right.
and there was no guides anywhere.
Okay,
And
Matt.
not just and I beat Myst with
I beat
no
Mist. I beat Mist.
hint. I I beat Myst and Riven with no walkthroughs. I beat The Witness
That's true. Matt's a genius.
with no hints. You can't say that I'm bad at puzzles.
Yeah, you're not bad at puzzles. I'm a little bit bad at puzzles, but
And
I did use the machine.
and I now that my credentials are established, this game is not too easy,
It's not.
motherfuckers. You're lying. You're lying because you're mad that there's black people in the world and that there's gay
Yeah.
people in the world.
And my credentials are I beat King's Quest 3 with no walkthrough, and I figured out the cheese in the machine in King's Quest 5. So I know myself some moon logic. So I can work any puzzle after
It's
doing
funny.
those puzzles.
It's funny that I'm yelling at people who there's a 0% chance would listen to
Yeah,
this
I don't think
podcast.
we're just yelling
There's
at no one.
none of those people would listen to this, and yet you're yelling at them.
It's back to that. It all ties back to that question. Does anything mean anything? Does this podcast mean anything?
Maybe what'll happen is if somebody is in an argument about this game, about that, they'll clip that from this podcast and send them that piece of audio.
Oh, good Lord. So anyway, I think that about wraps it up on Old Skies. I think it's safe to say that we both really enjoyed it.
Yes.
And I think that's evident because of the kind of deep conversation we were able to have after playing this game. Let's see. What do I want to plug? Go check out Matt's other podcast if you're interested in X-Men. It's called Mutant Menace. You can find that wherever podcasts are found.
Thank you.
Yeah. I will have a YouTube video up soon on Columbo, on the worst episode of Columbo. It's gonna be a banger. And you know what? I think all of this does mean something. You want to know why, Matt?
I'm curious why.
Well, I think this podcast matters because podcast is art.
And art is suffer.
That matters.
And it matters. Suffering
matters.